Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was once again We Live in Time, making $4.8 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $11 million and a worldwide total of $12 million. In a surprise turn of events, We Live in Time was able to stick around in the same position as last week. I thought for sure we would see another week of Beetlejuice or Terrifier 3, but no, it was the rom-com starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh to stick around. Very surprising for sure. It shows that the word of mouth has been very strong. People have been resonating with this movie very well. What also helped it is that it expanded into more theaters, so more people got to see it this weekend. And you know, as a rom-com, I also think that benefited as well. Again, we've been in the rom-com-assance, as I've coined it, for a while now. Obviously, recently with It Ends With Us, but also Anyone But You, The Lost City, Ticket to Paradise, so on and so forth. And seeing this movie on a much smaller scale, sure, but also showing signs of growth and legs here is also very promising and a really good sign of things to come for this movie. I think this is going to definitely be a sleeper hit for A24 for sure. I'm still not aware of the budget. That hasn't been reported yet, but I can't imagine it cost that much to make, and I'm sure they're very, very impressed and satisfied with these numbers. Yeah, a really solid weekend for We Live in Time. Hopefully this continues for the rest of its theatrical run. I'm hoping for more positive things to come for this movie, as I think, especially right now, we are in need for a lot more smaller sleeper hits and surprises for sure. Number 4 was Conclave, opening with $6.6 million this weekend domestically, and that total stays the same worldwide as it hasn't been released in any international countries yet. So this was an interesting weekend for this movie, as when the estimates came out, it was tied for third place with another movie, and while it came on the short end of the tie, I'd still say this is still a very impressive run opening for sure for this movie. You know, with the type of audience this movie was aimed for, a much older audience, the fact that it was able to bring out that level of people, that amount of people to theaters to go check this out. I've heard reports of a huge amount of older audiences over the age of 35 who really wanted to check this movie out. It seemed like it was really appealing to that crowd and demographic of people, which I think is quite impressive, as I didn't see a lot of marketing or buzz for this movie going into this. I thought it would crack the top 5, but on the lower end for sure. So the fact that I was able to crack this high, let alone tie for the estimates, was really impressive. It did get a B+ cinema score, which is concerning. I heard some things about the ending and how divisive, to put it lightly, the ending was for a lot of people. So the word of mouth is going to be interesting to see on how this movie goes. We'll see if this is a sleeper hit. It did cost $20 million to make, so it's definitely got a long way to go right now, at least domestically, to make that back. But hopefully, like We Live in Time, we see a surprise turnaround for this movie. Maybe it taps into something we haven't seen before. I don't know, but as far as its opening, I'd call it decent. It's definitely a surprising opening. I certainly wasn't expecting it to make this much, but still impressive nonetheless. Number 3 was The Wild Robot, making $6.8 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $111 million and a worldwide total of $233 million. So as you could guess already, this was the other film that tied for third in the estimate, and it was the film to claim victory over Conclave, as I think many people were expecting it to. Just the word of mouth on this has just been so exceptional, and you know, it's a kids movie, so it's got a wider audience for itself, but still, you know, the film is still going strong despite falling to third. It only dropped around 33%, which is at an exceptional hold, especially this stage in the game, and we're starting to see the film pick up the slack. It has recently surpassed and it's about to surpass Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Yeah, imagine telling yourself that, like, whenever Ghostbusters, how long it's been since that last Ghostbusters movie came out, that it would be surpassed by The Wild Robot. But yeah, this has just been a really exceptional run. You know, definitely a much needed hit, especially after the disappointing October we've had. The fact that this movie has been able to maintain its core audience and people are still going out to see it is quite the phenomenon, maybe not the phenomenon like some other phenomenons were this year, but still a really fantastic solid run at the box office, and it's even picking up some steam internationally. It has surpassed the $230 million milestone worldwide. It's definitely getting to 250 very soon, and believe it or not, it's still got a couple places to open. It doesn't open in Turkey until another month or so, and believe it or not, it doesn't open in Japan until February of next year. Poor Japanese. But yeah, this movie still got a couple places to open, but it's recently opened in a couple territories recently. I believe it's opened in the UK a couple weeks ago, Sweden, and it's taken those countries by storm over there, it seems. And yeah, the film's just become a certified hit right now. People are loving it. People are still going out to see it. I think we're going to be headed into the slowdown period, even though there's not a lot of competition for this movie to face off. It's just that the hype is definitely about to start dying down a bit, but this is still a really solid, really exceptional run, and I look forward to talking about it even more. Yeah, just overall, not much more else to say except, another solid weekend for The Wild Robot. Number 2 was, funny enough, Smile 2, making $9.5 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $40 million and a worldwide total of $83 million. So while yes, it doesn't seem like Smile 2 will be the surprise hit that was the first Smile, it did take quite a hit this weekend, falling 58% from its first weekend. It seems like this movie was a lot more front-loaded, and as far as like its legs will go, continuing from this point forward, it's only got just a matter of days until Halloween, as it falls on a Thursday this year. Then after that, we'll see what happens to the film. Will people still be in the mood to watch a scary movie once Halloween is over? We'll just have to wait and see. But I wouldn't be all doom and gloom about this movie just yet, as we're still in the second weekend, yes, and the film, once again, only has a couple more days of spooky month left, but it's not like the movie is in any imminent danger as of yet. The film is still just a $28 million movie. It's already made that back. It's about to double that domestically, and it's definitely more than double that worldwide, and it's now less than 20 million from surpassing the $100 million milestone. So while yes, this is definitely a bit of a disappointment, it's definitely not going to be the big hit that was the first one. This is still going to be a solid hit regardless of how it performs right now. They were wise with the budget. They did a fairly good job of getting people interested in seeing the film last week, and I'm sure it'll still be able to make the money it needs to qualify itself as a success. So while yes, not going to be the big hit, definitely going to be a step down in terms of box office from the first Smiles box office performance, this is still not in any danger. I still think this is going to be a solid hit for the studio. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was Venom: The Last Dance, opening with $51 million this weekend domestically and $175 million worldwide. This is the second biggest opening for a superhero movie this year, topping Joker Folie à Deux and Madame Web, but still sitting behind by a wide gap, I might add, Deadpool and Wolverine. It is also the third biggest opening for the Sony Marvel movies, topping Morbius and Madame Web, but still sitting behind Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage. And as you could probably tell, it is the lowest opening for any of these Venom movies. Yeah, this was kind of a lackluster opening, at least in terms of this sub-franchise for the Sony Marvel stuff, because these have always been the money makers. These have been always the ones that people loved, the ones that people always wanted to go and check out. These have been the ones that people really went out to see at the theater. But I think, given the poor reception of the last couple entries of the Sony Marvel franchise, Morbius and Madame Web, I think that just soured the reputation of these types of movies. It caused the interest for this movie to diminish, and also I just think that the over time, the love and appreciation for these movies have gone down, and I think that's also what's caused the interest factor for this movie to diminish. I don't think there was as much hype or anticipation or buzz for this movie as there was for the previous entries. The first one was the first film solely about Venom, and the second one had Carnage, and it was leading up to No Way Home. Yes, this was the final film in the for this sub-franchise, but that's all they had. Other than that, they had Venom as a horse, really. They didn't really capture a lot of people's attention. They didn't really get a lot of people hyped up to go and check it out, which is why the film kind of disappointed. Now, let me just say this is not a Joker. This is not a Joker. This is not an unbelievable disaster. I meant because first, they were wise with the budget. This is a $120 million movie, and believe it or not, it has already surpassed that initial budget worldwide, as internationally this film has taken off, so much so that it's actually the 5th biggest opening for any film worldwide this year, sitting behind Dune Part 2, Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire, Inside Out 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine. Internationally, people seem to be really digging this franchise, and they wanted to go check out the last installment with Venom, and apparently overseas, people are liking this a lot better than domestically, as domestically, the people who went to see it, they did not really like it. It got a B- cinema score, which is an improvement over Morbius and Madam Web. Those got C pluses, but it's definitely a notch down the B pluses that the first 2 Venom movies got. So the word of mouth is definitely going to be a big factor into this movie's performance. Again, I don't think it's going to crash and burn like Joker, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't worried about this movie's legs, even with the lack of big competition the movie has to face over these next 2 weeks. So yeah, definitely a very interesting opening for Venom: The Last Dance. Certainly disappointing domestically, but it was able to still make money internationally. So this is going to be an interesting one to cover. It's going to be an interesting one to look at. We'll see if this movie starts to gain the amount of traction domestically as it is gaining internationally. But as far as its start off go, even with the strong international performance, it's still really disappointing to see this movie not really take off like the other one. So yeah, definitely an interesting opening, to put it lightly. We'll see where this movie goes from here, but I have my doubts on it reaching the heights of its predecessors, at least domestically. Internationally, things are looking good. Domestically is another story. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend. And normally this would be the part of the video where I discuss the upcoming new wide releases hitting theaters and seeing where they would land in the top 5. But it's looking like it's going to be a slow weekend. The only new major wide release is Robert Zemeckis' Here, the movie with Robin Wright and Tom Hanks about their life as a family, and so on and so forth. I haven't seen a big marketing push for this. I don't see a lot of buzz for it either. And while, yes, a lot of the top 5 numbers this weekend were low, I don't think it's going to make a big impact on the top 5. It'll crack in the top 5, sure, but it's not going to leave as much as an impact as some of the other movies we've discussed in the past couple of weeks. So yeah, not expecting much for this weekend as a new wide release, or just the top 5 in general. But we'll see how well the movies that do land the top 5 truly do on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all those social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.